A week ago I put out a video on this subject which became my most popular video yet. Since then, more information and clarification has come to light. This video both updates and replaces the previous one. I've encountered a lot of purposeful disinformation and confusion. Add to that a complete mainstream media news blackout, and I realized a good video presenting the known facts would be useful. I have no insider information or secret sources. The information presented in this video is freely found on other YouTube videos or on websites accessible by everyone, and is compiled here to allow you to make your own judgment. Where possible, a link is provided in the More Info section. Some clips are cut, usually roughly as I'm no audio-video expert, for time constraints, but no cuts were made to manipulate information. By now, many of us have heard about the new outbreak in Ukraine, which has infected 1.6 million, hospitalized 150,000, and killed almost 400 people in just 3 weeks. This is a screenshot of the most recent flu tracker data showing Ukraine on the right with a count so high it doesn't even fit in the bubble, and dwarfing the counts of any other country in the region. Poland and Belarus, above and to the left of Ukraine, are now reporting similar cases, leading many to believe the new outbreak is spreading through Europe. China and Italy are also reporting what appears to be the new strain. On August 17th, Dr. A. True Ott was a guest of Dr. Bill Deagle on the Dr. Deagle Show. He said that a man named Joseph Moshe had called into his Born on the 4th of July RBN radio show on August 11th. The purpose of the show that day had been to compile evidence of the source of the H5N1 strain. He claimed Moshe told him he was a microbiologist from Los Angeles and had evidence that a biological weapon was being developed by Baxter Laboratories in Ukraine. He said he had documents proving an outbreak of a mutated H5N1 strain would be precipitated at the end of October under the guise of a flu vaccine. He also said the vaccine contained an additive that weakened the immune system. At first he didn't think Moshe was legit, but the next day's events made him rethink that assumption. Moshe, a 56 or 70-year-old, more on that later, American microbiologist with dual citizenship in Israel, seems to have felt guilty and unable to keep the evidence a secret any longer. The day after he called the radio show, agents knocked on the door of his house. When he didn't answer, they set up surveillance and questioned his neighbors. The next morning, August 13th, Moshe got into his 2002 Volkswagen Beetle and headed for the Israeli embassy where he believed he'd be safe. He was followed by a helicopter and cars from multiple government agencies. Before he could arrive at the embassy, his car was blocked in by armored Humvees, dozens of police and FBI agents, K-9 units, a SWAT team, snipers, and the Secret Service. His car was hit by an EMP pulse which knocked out the transmission and his mobile devices. They then sprayed tear gas and pepper spray into the car. Moshe, who had worked for Mossad, the intelligence agency of Israel, had been trained to build up resistance to tear gas, and managed to stay inside the car with the documents. A microwave weapon may have burned his skin, and a robot was used to remotely break the windows. Moshe was then tasered and dragged from the car at gunpoint several hours after the standoff began. The mainstream media immediately reported Moshe was a mentally ill conspiracy theorist criminal who had called in a threat to blow up the White House. According to Moshe's 90-year-old mother Julia from nearby Beverly Hills, he may have taken an antidepressant, but he had no history of aggression or psychosis. He certainly doesn't appear to have ties to conspiracy theory groups, any significant criminal record, and there's no proof he made threats against the White House. The media has since gone completely silent about this event, which was dubbed the Westwood Standoff. Moshe hasn't been heard from since. Here's some footage of the standoff.
These are aerial photos of Westwood right now where a police standoff is going on.
It's happening in the parking lot of the Federal Building on Wilshire Boulevard. Inside that red VW is a man who is wanted by the U.S. Secret Service for making unspecified threats against the White House.
Right around 10 o'clock this morning in the Westchester area, this suspect was spotted. Now, we know that this suspect was wanted for 2 misdemeanor warrants. We're not sure what led to the high-speed chase. Now, the high-speed pursuit went through the west side of Los Angeles. It was on the 405 for a time being. And then, as we understand, there was a second passenger in that red Volkswagen. That second passenger bailed out of the car right there around Howard Hughes the Howard Hughes exit right there off of Sepulveda and the 405 freeway. But then the high-speed pursuit continued, and that's where the suspect, or here is where the suspect rather headed towards.
We're near the command post where they're trying to figure out what exactly to do. Now we're going to talk to Lieutenant Rooney. Can you tell us kind of what is the newest information you have on exactly who this guy is?
Well, I don't have his name, to be honest with you.
And as far as the steps that are being taken here, has he made any specific threats that he has something in the car? Is this more of a better safe than sorry type of approach to what he's doing?
I would certainly say that it's a better safe than sorry.
What kind of threat do you think he poses at this point? Do you think there is anything? Has he given you any signal that he has something, any kind of weapon or any kind of bomb in the car?
I won't go into that.
Before we let you go, too, there's one thing I wanted to try to get some more information on. We had heard something about a second person that may have run off from this car. Is there any truth to that?
No, I can say that there was no second person involved in the vehicle.
Notice the media mentioning a second passenger and the LAPD denying it. Considering the number of helicopters and cameras on the car, if someone had bailed from the car, it should have been seen and probably filmed.
We have Bill Thomas over the scene now, over the suspect's home. Bill, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we got local officers here, FBI, federal officers as well. Looks like a K-9 unit. Police dogs being brought in here to check out this home. This is the 8100, maybe the 8300 block, Creighton Avenue on the west side in Westchester. There's the home with the detached garage, watching police officers go through apparently some trash buckets in back, checking out the inside and the exterior of the house. This has been going on for several hours, as you mentioned, Mark.
Here's a Google Maps Street View screenshot showing the same house at the location 8311 Creighton Avenue. A White Pages lookup shows Joseph Moshe lives at that address. Here's some raw news footage of the capture, taken from a helicopter.
Here he is, look right here. Jeez, look at that. There it goes. Oh, beautiful. More coming in. Tased him. Yep. Oh, man, you guys couldn't have done this a half hour ago. Let's reposition if necessary, Johnny, to get the best picture if it goes that way. Just take whatever you need to do. And moved in. Perfect timing. I don't know. Looking down at the angle, I guess. How did he survive all that tear gas?
Unfortunately, Moshe's call to Dr. True Ott wasn't recorded. If the whistleblowing followed by the violent apprehension 2 days later didn't convince you, perhaps what's happening now in Ukraine will. At the end of October, reports began coming out of Ukraine about an especially virulent infection that was noteworthy because it was 10 times more deadly than the known H5N1 virus, and was filling the victims' lungs with blood and turning them black. Ukraine's President Viktor Yushchenko declared martial law, blocked travel, and banned protest. He's since downplayed the pandemic and retracted some of those decrees, stating the upcoming election will proceed as planned. In only 3 weeks, the number of infected has skyrocketed to 1.6 million. In a country like Ukraine, that's a lot of people sick. Hundreds already dead, doctors, nurses, civilians. At first, some believed the outbreak could be the pandemic plague, a bacterial infection that targets the lungs, caused the Black Death pandemic in the 1300s, and still crops up from time to time, including recently in China. But plague kills even faster than this outbreak does, and can easily be cured with the antibiotic gentamicin. Other theorized culprits were the H5N1, either the known form or a mutated strain, or some other microbe. The World Health Organization, which had collected and analyzed samples early in the outbreak, delayed releasing the results for almost 3 weeks. They repeatedly denied that the results indicated the infection was caused by a mutated strain of H5N1.
There are fears that the H5N1 virus has now mutated and resembles the Spanish flu virus that killed more than 50 million people at the beginning of the 20th century. Ukrainian doctors say the lungs of the victims are as black as charcoal. This prompts fresh concern that the swine flu virus has taken a deadly new form. Our correspondent Igor Ogorodnev went to the epicenter of the outbreak in western Ukraine.
Make no mistake about it, Ukraine is in the throes of a swine flu crisis. I'm here in Lviv. Lviv has been one of the hotspots where the virus has been at its worst. It's become fashionable to trivialize swine flu and say it's just like normal flu. But doctors here say it isn't. It's more aggressive and it's more likely to lead to complications. Some theories published in the British papers suggesting that the virus had mutated in Ukraine and had become something more potent than it had been elsewhere in the world.
The mutant flu virus, which has sent waves of panic throughout western Ukraine, continues its seemingly unstoppable march. Only the fevered speculation of where it came from is spreading faster than the illness. Igor Ogorodnev reports tonight from western Ukraine.
1.5 million have been infected. Tens of thousands more fall ill every day. More than 300 people, many of them with no previous health problems, are dead. The rapid spread of disease has given rise to rumors, finger-pointing and conspiracy theories. Doctors in western Ukraine have told of post-mortems where the lungs of the victims were said to be as black as charcoal, comparing the symptoms to the Spanish flu which wiped out millions in 1918. Others even believe a pneumonic plague is to blame for the high death toll. Another theory causing a frenzy on the internet links the outbreak to deliberate mass spraying of chemicals by planes over Kiev. Local newspapers reported hundreds of eyewitness accounts suggesting this. And then there are those who claim the epidemic was engineered by pharmaceutical companies.
This may be a mutation of H5N1. Autopsies being performed are showing that the victims' lungs are pitch black. The DNA of a woman who died in the 1918 pandemic was recovered from her corpse. The DNA was used to recreate this virus.
The World Health Organization denies that this is anything but ordinary swine flu.
Then, today, quietly, the WHO released the results. Here's a screenshot showing the Ukraine outbreak is indeed caused by a D225G receptor binding domain change, exactly what H5N1 needed to become more deadly and more easily spread from person to person. WHO deception aside, this is great news for influenza and terrible news for humans. A little background on Baxter. Back in February, they distributed a mixture of live flu viruses throughout Europe, labeled as H5N1 flu vaccine. By chance, some ferrets were injected at a lab in Czech Republic and promptly died. Baxter admitted their error. Experts stated if the viral cocktail had been injected into humans, aside from obviously causing another outbreak, the viruses would have combined through a process called reassortment into an incredibly dangerous hybrid strain. For a live viral cocktail to be shipped in place of human vaccines, several strict security measures and dozens of human errors would have to have occurred at the same time. Baxter refused to disclose how the accident occurred, saying doing so would give their competitors knowledge of their procedures. In addition, there's a rumor that Obama owns Baxter stock, but I haven't been able to substantiate that. Who and where is Moshe? First, here's his profile on an Israeli research website. It shows he worked there until 2004 and was voted top Israeli scientist in 1996 for his work in virology. According to this website and others, he was born in 1939, which would make him 70 today, and 65 when he retired in Israel. I'm unable to find any info about him working in LA, although he appears to have still been publishing virology papers. Since the arrest, rumors circulated that Moshe had been taken to Israel, or placed in the Patton State Mental Hospital nearby. But here's where he really is. This image shows that Moshe was taken to Twin Towers Correctional Facility in LA on the evening of the standoff, where he remains, and that his next court date is January 25th. Everything matches, except that they've listed his age as 56. Did they arrest the wrong Joseph Moshe? Some things aren't yet clear, and more research is needed, but here's some solid facts. A virologist named Joseph Moshe worked in Israel until 2004. A man with similar appearance and the same name was dramatically arrested and jailed in Los Angeles in August. A radio show host then announced a man with the same name and background had told him Baxter would release a mutated H5N1 strain in Ukraine in late October. An outbreak began in Ukraine in late October and has now been confirmed as a mutated H5N1 strain. It now seems poised to spread through Europe and Asia. The mainstream media is completely silent about both the Westwood standoff, the Ukrainian outbreak, and any potential connection between the two. Once again, to mutate this video so it can spread virally, please rate it, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.